it's going to be nice to not have to think, am I allowed to do this?
Be released from lockdown and people will now start self-distance and not leave the 2 meters.
And this is the way it's always been sold to us. You don't wear a mask for you, you wear it for other people. You're going to have people that are going to go to the Tesco and they're going to be like, oh, I can't be bothered to wear a mask, leave it. Or there'll be other people that are like, no, I have to take one, Big
reality check with family and be very and stuff like that. So glad we are where we are.
It's being like, wonder why they're wearing a face mask. Is that comfortable? Why are they doing that?
So what's changed? What
has changed is the fact that I don't have to wear a bloody shirt in the morning.
InspirationNation, hello, Lee Kemp here for another week on a podcast, as always with my very good friends Jose Noya and Ryan Boniface. How are we doing this week, guys?
I wouldn't say very good, but
okay, my sometimes casual acquaintances Jose Noya and Ryan Boniface.
Yeah, I'm good. That's better.
That's what I like. And Weatherman Joe with his in-studio delay.
You want to do the pause? Yes, I'm great, thank you. All the way from Inspiration Nation Towers.
That's what I like to hear. Thank you everyone, of course, for listening. Follow us on social media at ListenToIN, ListenToIN. This week on our Wheel of Conversations, after 2 blockbuster weeks from the inspirational Lee Kemp, we're handing over the reins to Ryan Boniface. And what are we talking about this week in your well thought out subject, Ryan?
Life after July 19th.
Ooh.
So try to pick a topical topic, a current affairs type discussion. In the UK for our
quickly to Friar K on Instagram for joining us there.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Sorry to cut you off there, Ryan. Carry on.
Our international listeners may not know the significance of July 19th, but that's the date where Boris Johnson has said that social distancing and mask wearing will no longer be required in England. Not quite the United Kingdom, so Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland are still following their own stuff, but England, we will essentially be free to do what we like. A lot of people my age are talking about nightclubs reopening. I think just the general not having to pick up your phone, wallet, keys, and my mask, and or whatever. You can kind of start to forget about those things, and it's hopefully life to return back to a bit more normality. The last 8-12 weeks, it's been semi-normal, I would say, with pubs being back open, albeit table service and things like that, and the rule of 6 and social distancing and things like that. But this is the final flag up and away you go type thing. But I'm just curious to know if the pair of you, but what I mean by this is if your outlook on things has changed. Are you a bit more of a hermit crab now that we're forced to have been for the past 18 months? Are you really looking forward to getting outside and going to do whatever you can to spend as much time outside as possible? Or are you apprehensive about the fact that things are being released and, is it too soon? And yeah, so I'm just curious to know how you guys are maybe looking to approach it, if that differs from how I'm looking to approach it, and seeing where we are with that.
Okay. We'll go for the senior member of the group first, Jose Noya. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts on this are, I'm just going to still wear the mask, I think, sometimes as well. I think for me, it's really interesting because I'm going to reference, this is like freedom. I think it's a really easy. Oh, there you go. It is a really historic thing. I'm really glad you brought it up because it's pretty historic, right? I think it's nice to have, reflection on this because in years to come, people look back at this. So for me, I'm just really relaxed with it. I'm still going to take precautions, like in terms of, I'm always going to think of other people. So I'll still, wear my mask, probably at the minute in supermarkets. I'm not really feeling any different. I think because of the fact that I've been very fortunate that I've been able to work from home. I've been out, in terms of outside. I've been able to go for walks and stuff like that. I've, even recently been out for meals, right? I had a celebration at the weekend and I went out. I know you got social distance in a minute, but I know if that all starts to relax, I just don't feel any anxiety about it at the minute. I don't know that'll change as it comes around, but I know a lot of people will feel anxiety about it, where people start to, I imagine, be released from lockdown and people will now not self-distance and not leave the 2 meters. So for me, I'm, from a personal point of view, I'm probably going to still wear my mask in like those crowded areas just to protect other people. But I'm not at the minute. I just don't feel any apprehension about it. I just feel it's just another. I think it's been a gradual phase. They say that now we've got these double jabs that if we get it, it will be we can still obviously like have those flu-like symptoms and I suppose that effect is that I suppose I don't really feel that I suppose there could be fear amongst people, but I know there'd be probably still vulnerable people that feel that fear. So I'm trying to think about other people that might feel that fear about going out and stuff like that because they maybe have an underlying medical condition. But for me personally, I don't really have that. So I'm very lucky. And again, I feel very grateful for that. But I'm still going to wear it because I think I want to protect still other people that might be vulnerable around me. So that's my feelings on it in a minute. Lee, what about you?
I was just going to jump in and say that I think the three of us probably have had the most first world problem of the pandemic, in the sense that we've not been furloughed and we've had to work from home and it's been so terrible. Obviously I speak in jest, but I think that that's why I kind of was interested in all of our opinions, really, because where we've probably been affected the vast majority on the lesser side of the scale, me definitely. I think probably similarly for you guys. I know a couple of you guys have had close family members that have maybe had risks and scares and stuff, but generally speaking, I think we've been at the nicer end of the scale. So seeing how we react to that as a group, rather than those that have maybe frontlined it a bit more and have a bit more first kind of hand experience of dealing with social distancing and the virus itself, I guess. So yeah, I think that's kind of why I brought the topic up. But yeah, Lee.
Yeah, and like I said, there's the bigger bit where I'm glad we're at the stage we are, where, as it appears at the moment, vaccines are significantly dropping the risk of catching COVID and what happens to you if you do catch it. And that is, I big reality check with family members being very ill and stuff like that. So I'm glad we are where we are. In terms of the personal bit to me and July 19th specifically, and it's weird because if you go back in time to the start of this, and I'd work here in my dining room, come man cave, come office, as it has now become. And I'd have, you see behind me, TV on, I'd have the TV on and I'd get up in the morning, log in for work, make a coffee, and I'd put on Sky News and all the warnings would be coming up about what to do about COVID-19 and what's going on. And it was big. That was everything. And I remember really when we were in that really strict lockdown, it was like, once we can get back out again, it's going to, it's going to be like we're released and euphoria and party and whatever else. And now we're almost there. I'm a bit like, okay, they're not nonchalant about it, but so the parallel is all the announcements have happened about what's going to be happening, and I've kind of skimmed the news, but I've not really read in detail what the changes are, and I've read a few conflicting things, and I'm like, kind of what will happen. So I'm not really building towards it myself in my head. And some of it, I think, Ryan, like you've said, is we've got to this, we had it last summer where things got a lot more relaxed and it got tighter again. Pubs are open now, albeit, it's with a face mask to your table or not, but you can still go into it. Table service is a thing I love, and I hope they keep everywhere, and it's all app driven rather than have to get up and queue at the bar of 100 other people. But there's a lot of things we are doing right now. It'll be nice to be able to go to like family gatherings or things with friends with a lot of people and that, but really it's kind of almost like a non-event to me at the moment in a roundabout way.
Do you feel that the novelty's worn off? The novelty of freedom has worn off, if you like?
I don't know that I feel I'm going to be getting any more free necessarily. Last week the week before I went into London for something. If I need to go into town to get something, I'll get it. If I go to the shops, see, albeit in smaller groups, still see people. So there's a lot of things going on now. So I don't think it's going to allow me to do more than I was doing before, just because of the sort of things I'm doing. So it's going to be weird that potentially things are going to suddenly get a lot more crowded again, I suppose. But I've not really even thought about that bit. But that's the only thing I'm really thinking at this for me personally. And I don't know if that's because it hasn't necessarily had a big impact. I remember you saying quite early on, Ryan, that, you know, you sit in your room and you play computer games and you can still do that. So what's the impact? Or whether over the last year and a half, I've just acclimatized to everything and I'm not yearning for whatever genuine or perceived freedom I was losing back at the start. I don't really know, but I know that it's not at the forefront of mind. Even when you said July 19th, I was thinking in my head, what's the significance of that date? So I don't know. It's weird. It's not that it's a non-event. It's not that I don't care. It just is, I suppose.
Yeah, I think, and I think your opinion is going to be shared by a lot of people, and I think it's probably mainly down to the fact that, as I say, things have been for the vast majority normal over here since what was it, middle of May, when they opened pubs. They opened pubs back up, but I know we keep mentioning pubs. It's a very British thing, I guess, but pubs alongside other restaurants that you could eat outside, or you could even eat inside if you had a small enough group. The limitations that we were kind of forced on it had kind of eased, and you were able to do things. And I think the biggest restrictions we were seeing up until between then and now were weddings and funerals, the amount of people that could attend. Yeah. I think that's probably the biggest kicker. But I think for me, and my view on it is that it's going to be nice to not have to think, am I allowed to do this? Whether I plan to do something or whether something naturally happens and I'm like, I need to go out and meet my 6 other friends down the pub for, I don't know, the football or whatever. I no longer have to think, I can't do that. It's now the decision is mine. It's not taken out of my hands. That's where I kind of sit with it. I think it's I'm similar to you, Lee, in the sense that I don't feel like I'm gonna be released from the trap that we've been in, if you like. But I definitely feel like I'm not gonna have to worry about the legalities or the restrictions around what we have to do. Will I still take a face mask with me? Similarly to Joe, if I go to a supermarket or if I'm going to an enclosed place that's quite big, that will host a lot of people, then I probably will use it to wander around. But I think that's just going to be force of habit. And I saw an interesting story on Twitter the other day where maybe 4 or 5 years ago, somebody was studying in Japan, and they were living with somebody while they were studying over there who was from Japan, I think. And they got onto the tube service in Japan, or the bus service, I'm not quite sure what it was, and they put a mask on. And this person, I think they were American, they asked them, why do you wear a mask? And they said, well, if I'm sick, it helps protect other people. And it's almost like 5-6 years in the future, they had it solved. As Japan quite often do, they have things that the rest of the world don't seem to have, that are years in advance of everywhere else. And I think that's a really sentient kind of point for me, because it's going to come down to more, you're not, and this is the way it's always been sold to us. You don't wear a mask for you, you wear it for other people. But I think that's really going to hammer home now when you're in big public places, if people are still wearing them, that they're still aware that the virus still does exist and it's still quite transmissible. And for those that don't know the stats and stuff, the number of infections are still relatively high here. Like, we're talking 30,000 infections a day, but the amount of deaths are under 30 generally, whereas a year ago when we were seeing these numbers, the deaths were 5, 6, 7, 800 people. So whilst it's still kind of going round to people, it's for the most part maybe less offensive. It's less damaging to people, and they're partly down to the jabs, I would assume, or some herd immunity now, or just different things. But it's just going to be like, what's the etiquette? Like, there's no there's no like formal set etiquette for this kind of thing, is there? And again, maybe that's a British thing, but you're going to have people that are going to go to a Tesco and they're going to be like, oh, I can't be bothered to wear a mask, leave it. Or there'll be other people that are like, no, I have to take one. And I think that's just going to be how it's going to be for the next 6 months to a year. Lee, you mentioned that you're thinking about maybe there'll be loads of groups of people now when you go out and stuff, you have to go to London or whatever. But again, I think for the first 6-9 months, I would imagine that it will be a gradual pull up. It won't suddenly be that you'll run into groups of 20 people. It will be, these things will start happening like slowly. They'll scale back up, I would have thought.
I think you're right. And I think even though we're now, and it's your brain being conditioned, isn't it? It's just odd to see large groups of people clustered. So your brain's like, that's different. But again, as it starts to happen, it just becomes normal again. And I think this past 18, 20 months has shown how adaptable we are. We talked about this a lot at the start, but it's just, we have changed a lot, and a lot of things feel. And it's like face mask, and you said, I'm the same. I'll probably certainly start off with keeping mine and wearing it, but it's just become normal. So the fact that we don't have to wear face masks, it's not like I've been clamoring for this day to get rid of it, just because it's just become part of my routine to have a face mask and to put it on almost robotically without even thinking about it. So it doesn't feel like I'm gaining anything by not wearing it, because it's not really a problem to wear it. And that's, that's not saying that people who don't have to now, that's a problem or whatever, or people don't want to. Just for me, it's not intrusive because it's not new. It's just become what, we all do, really.
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm most apprehensive about is having to get another eye test, because my contact lenses aren't as good as what they were when we first started working from home. And I don't want to wear glasses all the time. If I wear a face mask with glasses, my glasses just steam up. So every time I have to go out, I have to put contact lenses in and I can never see.
I found this the other week when I was wearing sunglasses and I put my face mask on, and about 5 minutes I was like, oh, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
There may have been a swear word in the middle of that sentence when I said it to myself.
There are a lot of people I know that wear glasses and face masks and are fine. And I'm like, well, teach me your magic, because I'm not sure. I don't know what it is. But yeah.
Speaking of face masks, just quickly, if you do want to carry on wearing a face mask, you can get one of these wonderful. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see Inspiration Nation face mask. My voice now gone muffled for it. Just head over to inspirationnation.org.uk for all your fabulous merch, face masks included. So is there anything, just to jump on your topics, Ryan, is there anything you guys aren't looking forward to now that what has been dubbed as Freedom Day is approaching?
Joe?
It's weird. It's hard for me to think, because I think it's not going to. I don't think a lot is going to change for me personally. Again, it's like there's going to lot to change for other people, and again, it's only I'm trying to give my personal perspective, but I just don't. Potentially, I suppose it could go back to work. More back to work, but now, where I work, they've said we're still going to keep a balance, and if we can work from home, we can work from home. Other things, I just don't see much of a difference for myself. You think I'm dreading? Not really. I'm just going to take precautions. I'm not really worried. It's really weird. But I mean, like you say, there's people out there that have been really affected by this. And I think that's probably more other people. I just really feel really chilled out about it. I like a bit like you guys. I'm just like, it's happening 19th. It's great. Good. Let's just carry on. And it's and I think it's that whole adaptive mindset that I think I've definitely adapted to it very quickly. And I think, you guys have. And I'll just adapt again. And if we have to do something different, then I'm very open to whatever I need to do to adapt. And I don't really feel any emotions towards it. It's really strange. I just feel it's going to be almost like I feel like quite whatever normal is, right? I don't really
That's it. I appreciate that. I smirked earlier, by the way, just so people know. It's every time you say I'm going to take protection, Joe, I just imagine you being like a 16-year-old off to your first house party and your mum says, make sure you take protection with you.
I'm not, no comment.
I've spoken quite openly about the fact that I was really eager to get back to the office.
Yes.
But the thing I want to do least is go back to the office.
Careful what you wish for, Ryan.
Yeah.
So what's changed? What's changed?
What has changed is the fact that I don't have to wear a bloody shirt in the morning. I I think for the job role I now do, being in the office is probably going to be easier. But my own personal laziness, I guess probably the best word for it. My own personal laziness is just like I'd rather just stay at home because it's easy. But I feel like once I've had my first day back in the office, or my first week or two back in the office on a split kind of scenario, because we're doing some from home and some from the office, I think I'll probably see the benefits. I think Mondays are going to be quite heavy with a lot of my peers and people that I get on with in my office. So that'll be something to look forward to over the weekend, if you like, is seeing these people on a Monday. Makes the Mondays go a bit easier, I guess. And then once you've got Monday out of the way, the week started at that point, isn't it? So it will just pass through as normal. But I guess it's maybe just the initial apprehension of going back. I think I don't know. I work for a company that loves change, but I don't feel like I'm the biggest fan of it with things like this. I like having my set things for the day. I get
and it's funny because, but you were so I want to get back into the office, and you've really that mindset has really shifted in the last few months.
Yeah, it's weird. It's really weird. Like I get up and get breakfast at 9:15. I can't go and do that at the office. I have to be up and fed.
See, these are the benefits.
8 o'clock.
And this is one of the things you got me thinking about. I know it's not strictly surgery, but it's the things that have normalised or have changed. Because, working from home like it is now for people, an office-based job, and all the companies' approaches to that, whether, some companies are getting people back in to what it was previously, a lot are going for hybrid models, some are staying working for home forever. None of that would have happened if we hadn't been forced into. And again, I'm not saying we went through a good situation because it was awful, but none of that would have happened. I think things were moving that way slowly, but it escalated it because actually one of the things that changes always the infrastructure. Like this, we do this, we record the podcast video and audio on Zoom. I know loads of other podcasts who do the same sort of thing, and there's loads of other software and stuff for this, for doing it remotely. But for us doing it with the functionality that's in Zoom, like the screen share thing, I did a screen share earlier, everyone, just to illustrate before we started on air to
Granddad Lee got his screen share out.
My partners, that I am the #1 video on InspirationNation YouTube in the last few weeks. Anyway, not to dwell on such points.
On the subject of pre-COVID, can you believe the fact that we used to spend 3 hours in your front room recording 3 of these in one go?
I know.
How times have changed.
That is what we did, but it is changed. But I don't know if you remember, there was a huge rush in companies. So Zoom, Facebook were doing it, WhatsApp tried to do it. Obviously, Microsoft did it with Teams, and they really bulked up the infrastructure and sustainability of these video technologies because none of this was as good as it is now 2 years ago. But suddenly it became a necessity. And because it's got so good, it's then enabled the change, which again would have happened, but it would have been a lot slower. It's the same again, not that it's a good thing, but the high streets have changed completely. The amount of shops and stuff, big stores that have gone under, which we were already, that there was big chains closing already before COVID, and it's escalated that change quite a lot. And I just think there was a lot of change in a very, very short time. But now that that's all settled down and it's kind of normalized, it's funny to think back all these changes we've gone through that largely aren't even a blip on the radar anymore to us. They're just normal again. And Joe, you were the first one to be saying it. You kept saying things aren't going to go back to how they were 2 weeks ago. There's going to be a new normal. And you were saying that almost from the start. And that is where we are now. And it's a hybrid of some things getting released back as the whole freedom thing, and some things that will just be changed forever, and some things that are a bit of a hybrid in the middle.
Yeah,
and I think there's almost a bit for me that July 19th is a bit of a recognition of that sort of stuff as well. How much actually are we gonna hang on to that was enforced on us, for want of a better word? Face mask being an example.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's. Yeah, and I think I like going back to Ryan's point about, Japan are well ahead of the game. I think because didn't they have SARS or something like that, or is it over there? That's something
That
like
was there, but I think it was a thing anyway, wasn't it? It was a much
pollution.
more
I think it
thing
was a
than
pollution
face
thing.
masks. Yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
I think it was a pollution thing, but they were you see news reports from Japan and other Asian countries where they wear masks all the time. Like China do it as well because they're quite and I always believed it to be pollution based, but it's just weird how these things.
Like I said, they were ahead of the game there, and now it is. I think you will just see it ongoing. That it'll be a mix. We'll be allowed to make our own choices, but it will be something you see, as opposed to see something you'd very seldom see and would be a bit different.
Well, I seem to remember watching, like, I don't know, news reports or seeing videos and being like, oh, wonder why they're wearing a face mask. Is that comfortable? Why are they doing that? And now it's going to be weird seeing people not wearing face masks. It's going to be weird. All of the under my breath swears I say at people in supermarkets, I'm going to have to refrain from doing them now because they're going to see what I'm going to say.
I wonder though whether I'm going to retain talking a lot louder and really overemphasizing my eye movements because people can't see my face, and whether I'll keep doing them once people can see my mouth again.
What I just thought about, I don't know why the thought comes to my head, Ryan. So the reason you wanted to wear a mask, right? So you can use that, you can say that stuff. The reason you're wearing that mask is for that, right? Is so you can just
So it's an excuse to slag people off in supermarkets.
Oh, I love that. But yeah, so it's I just think, and also what I was thinking about the other day, and I heard this somewhere, can't remember exactly where, but there's going to be people be really anxious that are going to feel like keep your distance from me because there's going to be vulnerable, right? So I think we've got to be quite what's the word, tolerant of that as well, because people are going to be really nervous, and I think we've got to be conscious of that as well. I'm not, because I mean my personality is that I'm quite I'm quite a I'd like to I like to say hi to people, and I've actually you have to rein all that in.
I think full on are the words you're looking for, Joe.
Talking about recording these podcasts at yours, Lee. Do you remember when Joe used to make us hug him?
I do remember that.
That's coming back when we get out down. InspirationNation. We're gonna have to have like a classic get together, aren't we? I think maybe that could be a little celebration after that at some point. InspirationNation.
Let's book it in for 2022.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I can do that.
But you are right, Joe. There is, but I think I'm hoping one of the things that stays is a bit more understanding and a bit more tolerance, and hopefully that retains what we're doing. Like you said, there will be a lot of people that are anxious and nervous. People make choices what to do on different reasons, and it's just keeping that understanding in place.
I think
someone said go on.
I think keeping perspective is really important as well. And this is where I'm going to play a bit of devil's advocate and go to the other side. I agree that you should have you should wear masks if you feel that it's safer for those around you or for you, of course. But things like flu have killed more people this month than what COVID has, and things like that. And we're not in a national lockdown because influenza exists. So I'm not saying that don't wear them because it's not going to do that much damage to you. Of course, it could well do. We've seen the ramifications of that. But I think keep in perspective that these things happen. Like the government and the news report on daily infections and deaths and things like that. And for the first few months, while they were very high, completely understand it. But I think those numbers have just come in line now with other things, like car crashes are killing more people, and cancers kill more people, mental health kills more people, and it's just keeping that perspective that it isn't anymore, if you're vaccinated, it seems that this is the big bad wolf, if you like.
The vaccine bit is a key point on that, and I do think it's getting through to the point where we, like me for example, I'm only on my first jab at the moment. I've got my second one
same
next week, I think. But I think it's that once we're at that point where everyone who wants to have their vaccine has had their two jabs, that is where I think, and it's why I think we are where we are now as societies. That's where it reaches the point where it is, like colds and like flu and like that. It's one of those things because it doesn't have a really high infection rate linked with a really high mortality rate. And actually, by people, hand wash if it stays kept in shops and stuff, and hand gel and face masks. And might see colds and flus and all of that sort of stuff kind of get reined in a little bit again as a byproduct of what we've needed to do.
Yeah, I don't want to get political and say get the vaccine, don't get the vaccine, be an anti-vaxxer, don't, and things like that. Like that's not the purpose of the topic. It's just seems to suggest that with the vaccine rollout, especially in the UK, that infections aren't leading to as many hospitalizations as they were 6 months ago. So that just, you know, whether you think there's a direct link between the vaccine and that, or whether you think there's a separate issue between that and that, you think what you want to think. That's on you. But it does seem to believe that we are maybe coming out the other end at this stage.
That's it. All of these things, whatever
which is the most important part,
led to this point, hasn't it, where we can start releasing things. And you know what we would have said as going back to normal, but I think as we've all echoed with this, it's kind of a new normal, isn't it? Yeah.
I like your point, Lee, about that. I think it will reduce, like, because we'll have these precautions. I think it will just reduce flu and stuff like that. I think that's a really good byproduct of this whole thing, because that's how it's transmitted, isn't it? So I think you're right. I think it's going to be much, much better. And I think people have got a lot more awareness around the transferring of infection because of it. So I think we weren't so aware of it, and now we know, and how, you know, everyone's much more aware of how it transfers. In fact, my sister is in Canada, and she said the vaccination program, I don't know, it's a bit relevant, but they will actually mix and match in the vaccinations. So if you had, like,
I read something about that. Yeah,
you had like Pfizer, and then you had, what's the other one?
AstraZeneca.
No, not AstraZeneca. You could mix them.
One. Yeah,
but I think the efficacy would be less or something. But yeah, so that was interesting. I thought, I've never thought that, but there you go. So things like that.
It's all still very, very new, isn't it? It's where we are. But no, so it's and like I said, a lot of topic there, Ryan. But back to your initial point that said this, for me, it's kind of, it's not the yearning for freedom. It's just a bit like you said. It's allowing some more things. It's putting some more choice back on us, but it doesn't feel like it's a massive step change from one world to the other. I think, you know, the first lockdowns was a massive change in one go for everyone, and then everything's either we've got accustomed to stuff or it's eased back out. But yeah, I'm not counting down the days, but at the same point, obviously, I'm not unhappy with the situation either, because like you said, you just got to think about things less, which is only a good thing.
Right. Okay. I'm going to ask you guys your biggest takeaways, so we get jumping before we sort of finish up tonight. So your biggest takeaways from tonight's conversation, then?
Cool. It's a tough one to have those in a subject like this.
I'll leave this. Oh, go on, Lee.
Well, I think and I don't know how you articulate this. I'll let you write something down, but it's just echoing to me the comments you made early on, Joe, about there being a new normal. And I think this has just really cemented for me how many things that were changes a year and a half ago are just part of mine and our lives. And they just are. It's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just, you know, the new normal.
Yeah, new normal. Love that. It's adaptability, isn't it? I think there's that adaptability. I mean, how we've adapted has been incredible. Ryan, you got anything?
It's okay if you're not ready for the new normal.
Yes, that's good.
So what do you mean by that, Ryan? Like, if you're not ready?
Whereas if people aren't ready to go to a nightclub on June 19th, if you want to play it safer for another few months to see how it goes, you're more than welcome to. There's no pressure on you having to be free.
Lovely. Mine is just about being more aware of people, and that there might be, you know, other people that are nervous, and just being aware and respecting that for people. I think that's for me. Just increase your awareness when you're out there, because there's going to be a lot of, you know, new normal adaptability. You know, people can be nervous, so let's just respect that. I think that for me is the big thing, is that everyone's going to release this. It will be a very personal choice, and we've got to respect those personal choices. You know, and as I say, you know, the whole idea is that we keep the human race, you know, in the best place possible. So that was mine. Right. Okay. Well, I'll let you carry on, Lee. I think you want to wrap this bad boy up, don't you?
Good little subtle hint in the right direction there, Joe. Good subject, Ryan. Enjoyed this one very, very much. Thank you, of course, everyone, for listening, watching. Join us live on Instagram. check out Joe, Jose Noya, Inspiration Nation, stick it into Google. We're here every Tuesday at 8:30. Whatever service you're listening on, leave us a review. We greatly appreciate it. Tell friends and family. And don't forget to head over to inspirationnation.org.uk and sign up for Joe's fantastic newsletter where you get inspiration straight into your inbox. We'll be back again next week.
Yes.
I shall count us down. 3, 2, 1. Inspiration Nation.
Catch you
Catch you guys later.
So I want to know now, what's your biggest takeaway? Don't forget to hashtag it with Inspiration Nation in the comments below and make sure you commit to action. So you can catch all our other Inspiration Nation podcast episodes right over here. So go check them out. And also, don't forget to subscribe because that will tell you when your next video goes live by you hitting that amazing bell. So until next time, it's Inspiration Nation and I'll see you right over there.